The neon rain of Station Omega-9 didn't clean the streets. It just made the grime shine. Ronin pulled the collar of his worn leather jacket tighter against his neck as he navigated the crowded bazaar. He wasn't looking for trouble, but on Omega-9, trouble usually found you whether you were looking for it or not. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. Ronin was a salvage operator, a fancy term for a guy who risked his life pulling valuable scrap out of unstable derelict ships in the gravity well. It was dangerous work suited for humans. Most species in the Galactic Union were too risk-averse, too calculated. Humans, with their short lifespans and reckless adrenaline drives, dominated the trade. But today, Ronin wasn't looking for scrap. He was looking for a partner. The Union salvage regulations had changed again. To bid on the Class A derelicts, the ones that could actually make a man rich rather than just pay for his next meal, you needed a crew of at least 2 bonded individuals. A stability requirement, the bureaucrats called it. Ronin called it a pain in the neck. He didn't trust anyone to watch his back, let alone share his quarters. But he needed those contracts. His ship, the Rusty Sparrow, was barely holding together, and his debts to the local syndicate were mounting. So here he was at the bonding auction, a place where the desperate and the destitute sold their allegiance for safety. The auctioneer, a multi-limbed creature with a voice like grinding gears, was shouting over the crowd. "Next up, Lot 417, a female of the Sylari species. Young, healthy, compliant," the crowd murmured. The Sylari were known for their beauty, ethereal, pale-skinned, with eyes that held the swirling colors of a nebula. But this one was different. She stood on the platform with her head bowed, her hands trembling in energy cuffs. She wasn't looking at the crowd. She was looking at the floor as if expecting it to open up and swallow her. However, the auctioneer continued, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that echoed through the amplifiers. "I must disclose a defect. This unit is afflicted." Laughter rippled through the crowd. A heavy-set mining magnate in the front row spat on the ground. "Afflicted, you mean cursed? That's Lyra the Jinx. I heard her last bonded partner died when a gravity generator malfunctioned in a dry dock." "A dry dock?" The auctioneer waved a hand dismissively, though he took a subtle step away from the girl. "Superstition, coincidence. The girl is priced to move. Do I hear 500 credits?" Silence, absolute, heavy silence. In the spacefaring community, luck was a tangible commodity. No one wanted a bad luck charm. Ronin watched the girl. She looked terrified not of the crowd but of herself. She flinched when a drone buzzed too close to her, as if expecting it to explode. 200 credits, the auctioneer pleaded. "She can cook, she can clean. She'll blow up your kitchen." Someone shouted and the crowd roared with laughter. Ronin looked at her hands. They were clenched so tight her knuckles were white. He saw something there, something that reminded him of himself when he was first stranded on this rock. Utter, hopeless isolation. And he saw potential. Not in what she could do, but in the fact that she was clearly a survivor. If she was a walking disaster and was still breathing, she had to be tough. Plus 200 credits was cheap. Cheaper than a used hyperdrive coil. "I'll take her," Ronin said. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the laughter like a plasma torch. The crowd turned. The mining magnate sneered. "A human figures. You death wishers love to tempt fate." 300 credits, Ronin added, walking toward the stage. "If you process the paperwork now." The auctioneer looked relieved to be rid of the inventory. "Sold to the human." As the energy cuffs were transferred to Ronin's control, which he immediately deactivated, the girl looked up. Her eyes were a swirling vortex of violet and sorrow. "You make a mistake," she whispered, her voice melodic but trembling. "Disaster follows me, human. You will lose your credits." "You will lose your life," Ronin shrugged, offering her a hand to step down from the platform. "Name's Ronin, and I've been losing credits my whole life without any help. Let's go." The walk back to the Rusty Sparrow was uneventful, mainly because people cleared a wide path for them. The legend of the Jinx was apparently well known. When they stepped onto the bridge of his ship, the lights flickered and died. Lyra froze near the airlock, hugging herself. "It begins," she said miserably. Ronin didn't yell, he didn't sigh. He just walked over to the bulkhead and gave it a solid, percussive thump with his fist. The lights buzzed back to life. "Loose wiring," Ronin said calmly. "Been meaning to fix that for weeks. Welcome home, Lyra. It's not much, but it keeps the vacuum out." Lyra looked at him with wide, disbelief-filled eyes. "You are not angry? Why would I be angry?" You didn't chew the wires. But my field, the probability distortion. Look, Ronin said, tossing his jacket onto the pilot's chair. I don't believe in curses. I believe in poor maintenance and bad decisions. Now strap in. We have a salvage contract to secure. The first week was challenging. A coffee mug shattered in Lyra's hand when she wasn't even squeezing it. The navigation computer rebooted randomly 3 times. A cargo strap snapped, nearly crushing Ronin's foot. Each time, Lyra shrank away, waiting for the blow, the shout, the ejection from the airlock. And each time, Ronin just fixed the problem. Entropy, he told her one evening over a meal of rehydrated noodles. That's all it is, things fall apart. Maybe you accelerated a little, like a catalyst. It is a curse, Lyra insisted. My people exiled me. They said I was born under a black star, I bring ruin. Ronin looked at her, really looked at her. You know, on Earth we have a saying. Chaos is a ladder. Maybe you're not breaking things. Maybe you're just shaking loose the weak parts so we can build them stronger. He reached out and placed his hand over hers on the table. Lyra gasped. She tried to pull away. Don't, physical contact destabilizes the field. It creates a surge, but Ronin didn't let go. His hand was warm, rough with calluses, steady. I'm holding you, he said. Let's see what happens. The lights didn't flicker. The engine didn't stall. Instead, a low, harmonious hum seemed to vibrate through the ship's hull. The Rusty Sparrow's engine, usually rhythmic and clunky, smoothed out into a purr. Lyra stared at their joined hands. It stopped, the noise in my head. The static, it stopped. Humans are grounding wires. Ronin smiled, a genuine lopsided grin. We're stubborn, we ground the energy. Maybe you just needed an anchor. That night, they secured the Class A contract. It was a derelict cruiser in the Helix Nebula, a graveyard of ships known for ionic storms and pirates. A suicide run for most, a Tuesday for Ronin. But this time he had Lyra, and he was beginning to suspect that what she had wasn't bad luck at all. They arrived at the coordinates 3 days later. The derelict, a massive military frigate, was drifting dangerously close to a gravity well. We have to be fast, Ronin said, his hands flying over the controls. I'll align us with the airlock. You monitor the stabilizers. If the gravity shear gets too high, yell. Lyra's hands hovered over the console. She was terrified, but Ronin's calm presence in the pilot's chair gave her a sliver of courage. Ronin, she warned. My readings show a massive ion surge building. If it hits while we are docked, it won't, Ronin said. He believed it because he had to. He docked with a metallic clang. They suited up and entered the frigate. The interior was dark, lit only by their helmet beams. It was eerie, silent, and filled with valuable tech. Jackpot, Ronin muttered, scanning a crate of intact power cells. Grab what you can, we have 20 minutes. They were hauling the second crate when the ship shuddered violently. Ronin, Lyra screamed over the comms. The ion storm had shifted course. It's hitting us now, back to the ship, Ronin yelled, grabbing her arm. They ran through the twisting corridors as the derelict groaned under the assault of the storm. Sparks showered from the ceiling. A bulkhead door slammed shut in front of them, sealing the path. We are trapped, Lyra cried, panic rising. This is my doing, the probability shifted. Then shifted back. Ronin grabbed her shoulders, spinning her to face him. Through the visor, he looked straight into her violet eyes. Listen to me, you don't create bad luck. You manipulate probability. That door didn't close because of magic, it closed because the circuit overloaded. Overload it the other way. Open it! I can't control it. Yes, you can, focus on me. Use that chaos, break the lock! Lyra squeezed her eyes shut. She felt the chaotic energy swirling around her. The familiar tug of disaster. Usually she let it wash over her, let it break the world. But now Ronin was holding her. She felt his heartbeat through the suit sensors. She grabbed that feeling, that stability, and shoved the chaos outward, directing it at the door mechanism. Break, she thought, but break in my favor. Sparks exploded from the control panel. Gears ground together with a screeching protest. And then, the heavy blast door didn't just open. It flew off its tracks, crashing into the wall with enough force to embed itself in the metal. The path was clear. Ronin stared at the destruction, then at Lyra. Remind me never to make you mad, he grinned. Move. They made it to the Rusty Sparrow and detached seconds before the derelict was torn apart by the gravity well. As they sped away into the safety of deep space, silence filled the cockpit. Ronin unlatched his helmet. Lyra did the same, her face flushed, her eyes wide with shock. I did that, she whispered. I weaponized the entropy. You saved our lives, Ronin corrected. You're not a Jinx, Lyra, you're a heavy weapon. And I think we just figured out the trigger. News of their success spread. The Jinx and the human had pulled a fortune out of the Helix Nebula. Naturally, this attracted attention. The wrong kind. Varkas, the syndicate boss who practically ran the salvage trade in this sector, decided he wanted a cut. Or rather, he wanted the whole pie. Varkas was a Draxian, 7 feet of muscle and scales with a temperament to match. He intercepted the Rusty Sparrow just outside Omega 9. 3 heavy interceptors surrounded Ronin's ship. Heave to, Ronin, Varkas' voice growled over the comms. You're carrying unauthorized salvage in my territory. Space is free, Varkas, Ronin replied, his hand hovering over the weapon systems. I paid my dues to the station. The station is me, Varkas laughed. Power down or we turn that flying scrap heap into dust. And hand over the girl. I hear she's quite the anomaly. I could use a new pet. Ronin's expression went cold. The playfulness vanished. He looked at Lyra. She was trembling again, the old fear returning. He will kill you, she whispered. He wants me. If I surrender. Not happening, Ronin said. Lyra, remember the door? She nodded. This is bigger than a door. These are 3 warships. Same principle, Ronin said. Just more moving parts, come here. He pulled her out of the co-pilot seat and pulled her onto his lap. It was awkward in the cramped cockpit, but necessary.
I need you to touch the navigation console and the weapons array.
Both hands, direct contact. What are you doing? We're going to fly through them, Ronin said, his voice terrifyingly calm. I'll handle the piloting. You handle the... Look, this is insane, Lyra breathed, but she placed her hands on the console. She felt Ronin's chest against her back, his arms encircling her to reach the controls. The contact was electric. The chaotic energy inside her surged, but instead of spiraling out, it funneled into the ship's systems. Hold on, Ronin whispered. He slammed the throttle forward. The Rusty Sparrow didn't retreat. It surged straight toward Varkas' flagship. They're firing, Lyra screamed as the enemy ships lit up with laser fire. A wall of coherent light raced toward them. It should have vaporized them instantly, but Lyra screamed, closing her eyes and pushing the chaos out. The lead interceptor's targeting computer suffered a catastrophic logic error at that exact microsecond. The lasers fired, but they missed by inches, creating a tunnel of fire that Ronin flew directly through. Missed! Ronin laughed, a wild human sound. How? Varkas roared over the comms. Reacquire, fire all batteries! Their thermal couplings are looking a bit unstable, aren't they, Lyra? Ronin murmured into her ear. Yes, she hissed, her eyes glowing a fierce, blinding violet. Very unstable. On Varkas' ship, the weapons officer stared at his board in horror. Sir, the coolant systems. They've reversed flow. If we fire, we'll melt the barrels. Override it. Varkas screamed. They fired. 2 of the interceptor's main cannons exploded instantly, the back pressure tearing their own hulls apart. The 3rd ship swerved to avoid the debris, colliding with Varkas' shields. It was a symphony of errors, a ballet of disasters, and flying through the center of it untouched was the Rusty Sparrow. Ronin piloted with impossible reflexes, anticipating the chaos Lyra was generating. He wasn't fighting the storm, he was surfing it. He juked left just as a piece of debris slammed into where they had been a second ago. He barrel-rolled right as a stray torpedo lost its lock and spiraled into an asteroid. He's unstoppable! One of Varkas' minions screamed over the open channel. It's like the universe is protecting him. Not the universe, Ronin muttered, firing a precision shot into Varkas' exposed engine drive. Just my wife. The shot landed true. Varkas' ship went dead in the water, drifting helplessly. The Rusty Sparrow looped around, coming to a hover in front of the crippled flagship. This is Ronin, he broadcasted. Next time you want to tax my salvage, check your insurance policy first. We're keeping the loot out. They docked at Omega 9 an hour later. The station was buzzing. Everyone had seen the sensor logs. 2 pirate ships destroyed, a flagship crippled, and the Rusty Sparrow without a scratch. When Ronin and Lyra walked into the bazaar, the silence was different this time. It wasn't mockery, it was fear. And respect that the mining magnate from the auction was there. He took one look at Ronin, then at Lyra, and tipped his hat, stepping aside to give them the entire walkway. Lyra walked with her head high, her hand firmly clasped in Ronin's. She wasn't the Jinx anymore. She was the calamity, and Ronin was her rider. Back in the quiet of the ship, the adrenaline faded, leaving them exhausted but exhilarated. Ronin sat on the edge of the bunk, pulling off his boots. Lyra stood in the doorway, watching him. "You called me your wife," she said softly. Ronin paused. Figured it sounded more intimidating than business partner. Plus the bond paperwork, it's legally binding in most sectors. He looked up at her, uncertainty flickering in his eyes for the first time. "I can dissolve it, though. If you want, you're free, Lyra. You have your share of the salvage. You can go anywhere." Lyra crossed the room. She moved with a grace she hadn't possessed a week ago, the grace of someone who knows they have a place in the universe. She stopped in front of him. "The chaos is still there," she said, holding out her hand. "It always will be, it is part of me." Ronin took her hand. "I like a little chaos, keeps life interesting. Without you to ground me, I am a disaster," she whispered, stepping closer until her knees touched his. "But with you, I am unstoppable." She leaned down, her forehead resting against his. The probability field around them hummed, not with destruction but with potential. A coffee cup on the table rattled, then settled. A light bulb flickered, then burned brighter than before. "I do not wish to dissolve the bond, Ronin," she said. "I wish to renew it every day." Ronin smiled, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Well," he said, pulling her down beside him, "we have a lot of galaxy left to explore, and a lot of bad luck to share." They sat there in the silence of the ship, two broken pieces that fit together to make something dangerous and beautiful. They were the king and queen of entropy, and the universe had better watch out. 6 months later, the Rusty Sparrow wasn't rusty anymore. It was the flagship of a small fleet. Ronin and Lyra had built a reputation. If you had a job that was impossible, a route that was suicidal, or a sector overrun by pirates, you called them. They didn't just survive the odds, they rewrote them. There were stories told in the bars of Omega-9. Stories about how Ronin walked through a firefight without getting scratched because the enemy guns jammed in unison. Stories about how Lyra could walk into a casino and bankrupt the house just by smiling at the roulette wheel. One evening, a young human pilot approached their table at the station bar. He looked nervous, clutching a data pad. "Captain Ronin, Lady Lyra," he stammered. Ronin looked up from his drink. "Just Ronin, kid, what do you need?" I have a crew. We're trying to get a start, but nobody will hire us. They say we're too green, too risky." The kid looked at Lyra with awe. "I heard you take on the hopeless cases." Lyra looked at the boy. She saw the fear, the desperation. She saw herself. She looked at Ronin, raising an eyebrow. Ronin sighed, feigning annoyance, but Lyra saw the corner of his mouth twitch. "What's the job?" Ronin asked. "Escort mission through the asteroid belt of tears." "Sounds fun," Ronin said, standing up. "Pay is standard, but you follow my lead. And if things start exploding for no reason," he pointed a thumb at Lyra, "you thank her." The kid grinned, relief washing over him. "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir." As the kid ran off to tell his crew, Lyra leaned into Ronin. "You have a soft spot for strays, husband." "I picked you, didn't I?" he teased. "And look how that turned out," she replied, kissing his cheek. "Best investment I ever made," Ronin admitted, looking out the viewport at the stars. They were cold, distant, and dangerous, but with Lyra by his side, they looked like opportunities. He wed the alien girl with bad luck, and suddenly he was unstoppable. Because when you control the chaos, you control the game. And Ronin and Lyra, they were just getting started. It really helps us bring more stories like this to life. And check out the video on the screen now. I think you're going to love it.